Hey, this is Ben with Valley's End Apiary. Just wanted to share something else sweet that we've been working on. This morning I'm cooking down this week's collection of sap. This is about 20 gallons of maple sap that we've collected this week. Normally during the winter we're collecting this stuff and putting it on our wood stove, but there's times a year where the sap is just running so fast that I can't cook it down fast enough on the wood stove. So yeah, we have a big stainless bowl here, and gonna spend some time cooking it down. Just got the fire lit. We had a pretty bad windstorm this week, so there's a lot of little branches down and stuff, and so we're just gonna be there's some blocking in there from skids and stuff too. I like free wood. Yeah, we've been collecting wood, collecting sap. We have 5 trees. This is our biggest one next to the house. Got 4 lines running into a 5-gallon bucket. I have it tilted so any rain or snow that collects on the top doesn't run down into the little holes, but using 1/4-inch PVC tubing. I drilled into the tree on an upward angle, and you just insert it maybe 1/2 inch. The holes are about 2 inches deep, and right now everything's frozen. Normally you'd see a little bit of sap leakage all around the edge there, and it just runs right down the tubes. It's all frozen in the lines right now. But yeah, we have 4. This tree's about probably 3.5 feet in diameter, and we have one over here also. That's our other bigger tree. That's got 3 lines coming into that one. They're 1/4-inch holes. A lot of the guys that collect sap use 3/8, but I use 1/4 because the tubing's cheap. And we have just a small bucket on this smaller tree, one down there, one over here, and then the last one is up here in with the chickens. So I have it hanging on a nail to keep the chickens out of it, because otherwise they show interest in everything we're doing. So yeah, thought maybe you guys would appreciate seeing a little bit of the stuff we're doing here on our spare Saturday. Last year we got about 2 gallons of maple syrup doing this, and so I'm going to be feeding fire today, and I'll check back in here once we get it cooked down a little bit. Just starting to get some steam coming off of the sap there. So yeah, check back with you in a minute. Well, we got some nice coals going. It's not boiling yet, but it won't take too long. Just some random information here. If you're ever thinking of making it, it takes about 50 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. Last year we got almost 2 gallons, so that's about 200 gallons of sap, if I did the math right in my head just now. But yeah, we were doing this almost every weekend for about 3 or 4 weeks. So and plus all the stuff that we collected in January. And cooked down on our wood stove. So we've been cooking down a good bit this afternoon. Come around here so we don't have so much backlight. I've got some blocks of wood in here under the lid. Helps hold some of the heat in, but the steam comes out without any problem. So backlit. Got a good fire, some good coals under there, and I don't know if you can hear it, but it's boiling pretty nice. So it's been cooking for a couple hours now. We got a nice rolling boil going. Can't tell if you can see it. The wind shifts enough. Yeah, little glimpses here and there. Camera's probably having trouble focusing on it. I'll have to see if it's worth final footage to put in, but I like to get a nice bed of coals going underneath it. This might be a little on the hot side, especially since the fluid level's getting low. There's always the risk of burning, especially once it gets thickened up. But it's definitely cooking it down. All right, so it's been a couple hours now. We got a nice boil going. I don't know if the camera is able to focus on that. It's too bright out here. But you can see the level of sap has gone down pretty dramatically. Hopefully you can see that. I've let the fire get down a little bit more to just some coals here, because I don't want to burn the sap. I actually finish it inside on the stove. This is just to get the vast majority of the water content out of it. Trying to get a better shot. The wind keeps shifting. Better shot of how much lower our fluid is here. There you go. You can see it's down. We're probably about a third as much of what we started with, maybe even less. I'm going to let it continue cooking for a little bit, but it's also getting a nice amber color. Again, I'm not sure how much you're able to see here, just because there's so much steam, and I'm not sure where the camera's focusing. There we go. There we go. All right. All right, so we've cooked it down. There's probably, I'm going to guess, maybe 2 or 3 gallons in the bottom of there from 20. It still has some reducing to do, but I don't want to do it over the wood fire because we don't have control over the temperature, and I don't want to burn it. You can kind of see at the edges. Well, sort of, yeah, it's kind of black at the edges where the fire was hot and it was simmering against it. So I'm going to hand this off to Anna. Get my gloves on. All right. Try this at home. Don't trip over the stick. Okay.
Try this at home.
You support the center, I'll do all the moving around. We're pouring it through this screen to try to catch any chunks of ash or anything like that. You can see it's a much more amber color than when we started. Yep, and if you want to get a shot, this grit here is sugar sand. It's just the minerals and stuff that are coming out of the sap. I'll just pour that out on the ground here. Set this down out of the way.
You can see there's actual sand built up on the bottom of the bowl.
Yep, that'll all scrub loose.
This right here, it's like a sand that develops when you cook it down far enough. You have to filter that out with cheesecloth.
Yep. All right, so this is part of the finishing process for the maple syrup. I don't do this over the fire because I like to have a little more control, because once this stuff gets close, it has a tendency to foam up and just run over the sides.
So one of the things you want to be careful of is not overdoing your maple syrup. And a lot of the questions are how to know when it's done. You get some water boiling, and I recommend a good thermometer, like a candy thermometer. Don't get it against the bottom of the pot. Just get it into the boiling water and see where you're boiling at. So this is showing about 213 degrees, 212 degrees. The maple syrup should be done when it hits about 7 degrees above the boiling point for water. Right now, this stuff here, the higher the sugar content is, the higher your boiling content will be. So we're at 217. We're actually coming up pretty quick. We're gonna filter it here in a couple minutes just to get all the sugar sand off the bottom. Here's some maple syrup that we made last year, and you can see on the bottom there's that white stuff. It's just it's a mineral that precipitates out of the mixture. And one other thing you might notice there too is that we've got crystals on the bottom. That's from cooking it a little too long, and once it got put into the jar, it made rock candy on the bottom of the jar, which is pretty cool looking if you're not real worried about it. None of the sugar sand is anything to worry about. It's safe to consume, but if you want to make for nice looking gifts to give to people, maybe they won't be impressed with the sugar sand, you'll need to filter it out. So we use cheesecloth, and we just put it into the screen and bucket that we've been using for our maple syrup so far. And I won't be able to show that to you because my hands are going to be full. So yeah, that's just part of the process that I do. A couple of pointers as we start getting closer and closer to maple syrup. Don't walk away from your pot while it's boiling, because it starts foaming. You can see there in the center, we're starting to get a pretty good formation of foam. And last year when I was doing this, I walked away for 5 minutes and came back, and about a third of my maple syrup had boiled over the sides and run down into the all over the burner, down inside of the stove, to the point where it was running out onto the floor underneath. So learn from my mistake. Don't walk away from it as you start getting closer. You can turn your heat down a little bit. That'll help. One other thing you can, well, and one thing that I'm doing this year is I'm using a bigger pot. This stock pot has pretty high sides, so you have a little more of a buffer if it does start to foam. One thing that'll help if it does start to foam too much and starts to boil over is to put just a little bit of butter, or maybe a couple of drops of olive oil. That floats on the surface and helps keeps the foam from forming, and helps you prevent the big mess. All right, so we've reached 7 degrees above the boiling point of water. We've got a cheesecloth filter here to try to capture some of the sugar sand, and I've got my beautiful assistants helping to do this. So, all right, I'll try to get an angle here.
So we have cleaned the ball jars in the dishwasher with a hot setting to get them nice and hot.
We've got a towel under it just in case the jar breaks, to help capture some of the sticky that resides in maple syrup.
Or if it spills.
And we're boiling our lids to get the rubber good and soft so it seals well, and to kill a lot of mold and bacteria spores that might be on them. And we're going to fill these up to the ring a little more. Oh, we're starting to collect a little bit of sediment and sugar sand here. Okay, so and okay.
That is what the towels were.
Okay, you want to demonstrate the jarring process?
Okay, lean over the mirror.
She's got a handy magnet that she can use to pick out the lid. And we didn't grab any rings.
No, we did.
Okay. This is just basically cold canning because the sugar content's high enough that it's not a concern. The lid will still vacuum down and do the little plinking thing, but all right. So I'm going to give her a hand. Put down my phone and give her a hand. Fills that up with goodness.
Liquid gold.
One step that I was just reminded of, before we put the lid on, we get a washcloth with really hot water on it, and we wipe down the rim of the jar, just to get any of the stickiness off, any of the sugar off, so it can have a good sealing surface. I then, I won't do it with this one, but I turn them upside down just to get the heat. The liquid needs to be 180 degrees before we put it in. This stuff is still 200 and plus, so yeah, we're good there. But yeah, you want to make sure it's above 180 degrees so that it has enough heat to kill any bacteria or anything that might be trying to grow in it. And anything that might have been missed by the, we run our jars through the dishwasher on the, is it sterilization? Not sterilization, sanitization setting, just to get them good and hot. That also helps them, if the glass is nice and warm, you're less likely to have a jar break. We do a bunch of them in these little pint jars, and then we fill up the rest in quarts or half gallons. These are more for gifts and that kind of thing. So
I think we should probably move
yeah,
on.
enjoy your maple syrup. Hope if you guys are trying it at home that it goes smoothly, and hopefully you got some good tips from this process. One more little tip before we finish up. If you're using cheesecloth like we are, the sediment, the sugar sand starts blocking it off. We roll it around until try to use every bit of the cheesecloth that we can, and then swap it out and put a new cheesecloth in. So make sure you've got a couple of bolts of cheesecloth. Fortunately, they're pretty cheap. I think you said what, 75 cents or something like that for a cheesecloth. So yeah, they will stop up, and we've got multiple layers. That's probably folded up 2 or 3 times, or doubled 2 or 3 times to get it the entire bolt in there, so we get a lot of good filtration. So just to get any ash or chunks of wood or sugar sand or any of that stuff out of there, and it'll help you have a little bit clearer syrup.